Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Really excited about today's subject, Captain Action, which was a fantastic toy from the 60s and 70s. We'll get into the origins of Captain Action, but IDW has just released a brand new Captain Action collection of the 5 DC issues. And there's a whole lot more in there, and we're happy to have the man behind Captain Action. Wow, how long have you had the license, Ed? Ed Cato, everybody.
Yeah, well, one of the men, right? So I do this, you know, we never do anything alone. Do it with some great partners. My partner, Joe Ahern's been along the whole ride, and Mike Polis came on board a few years ago. But yeah, we've been banging away at this thing for like 15 years, 14 years. And the joke with this book is we thought this would be one of the easier parts of the project, right? We thought this would be 3 months, and here we are 14 years later, and now it's published.
Wow, that's insane, man. No, it's great. I got the back cover. Here's the back cover, everybody.
Oh, yeah, back cover's good.
Absolutely. And then I've got some classic DC covers. Let's go from the start, Ed, and talk about DC's relationship with Captain Action. I also, by the way, people, if the background is too big, here's a nicer picture of.
Chick Stone artwork on that.
See, this is what I'm counting on, Ed, that you will be able to identify some of these great images.
Oh yeah. That's a funny thing. That's from the what's called by fans the Yellow Book. That was a promotional booklet, you would call it, little comic booklet that came with the toy back in the 60s. And they would farm that out to comic guys, like all that work, Murphy Anderson and Chick Stone. And I think it was kind of like, hey, Chick, you want to do this thing? Yeah, sure. And so they did that, and it's super charming. And actually that book is very special. It's one of the few times there's an adventure with Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Green Hornet, properties
all together.
Different publishers and IP holders. So it's a beautiful little book, and we've included part of that in this in our new book too.
That's great, man. This is the conceit for people who may not remember Captain Action is he's a secret agent. Well, here's a great picture of him in action, boy. Boom.
Oh yeah,
right there. Is that Gil? Who drew this one, Ed?
So that's beautiful. So that's Gil Kane. And then Dick Giordano inks, and that's taken from one of the old comics, and we've used that on our on the cover of the new book, of course.
Indeed, absolutely, man. And yes, look at the lineup, everybody there, including an introduction by Mark Waid, but classic comic creators: Gil Kane, Wally Wood, Jim Shooter. Now that's a great shot of Captain Action in his regular uniform. But Ed and I know that, and mentioning the fact that in the old Captain Action Boy little insert, the conceit of Captain Action was he was a master of disguise, and they would give us like Barbie clothes. You could buy not only costumes but rubber masks to put over Captain Action's head, and he would become, as we said, Superman, Spider-Man, the Lone Ranger, the Green Hornet. Who else, Ed?
Absolutely, yeah. Sergeant Fury, Tonto was in there, Aquaman. And it's hard for action figure collectors today to understand because, of course, if you have your action figures, you line them all up on your desk. And, this was, you'd buy one figure and then you would change his uniform and make him be another figure. And so you'd have an adventure of Batman, and then you'd say, oh, let me change this around. Now I have an adventure of the Green Hornet or Spider-Man. And that was the, I see Warren remembers his commercials. Yes. And
Captain Action was his name, and Bold Adventure is his game. Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely. I'm not going to sing that, but he's got it. Good job, Warren.
Are there old commercials on YouTube of the commercial?
There is. They only did one TV commercial. And, you know, with toys, oftentimes everything has to be prepped before the thing is actually made. So if you look carefully in the toy commercial, they hadn't made the full figure yet. So a G.I. Joe figure is the stand-in for Captain.
Wow.
In that you can notice by the special G.I. Joe hands. So yeah, it's a beautiful, you know, it's a beautiful commercial, and it's a lot of fun. And they did do some print ads later on with using comic artist Kurt Schaffenberger, who yeah, right, great. You know, we know mostly from DC, but he worked for ACG and other groups as well. And
great
those
Superman artist, absolutely.
Yeah, man. Right. I always thought of him as like the Lois Lane artist, right?
Yep, absolutely, man. And in fact, too, in the late 70s, when Superman Family was going on, he was drawing Mr. and Mrs. Superman, which was the golden age. Superman married, and isn't that funny? Now we're living in a world where the CW is doing modern Superman and Lois being married and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Who would ever have thought? It's just amazing. Just amazing.
No, this is great, man. And so this was an amazing toy. And I remember well, and it's so funny that you say that they used G.I. Joe for the commercial. I got to find this now, this video. But also, I remember as a child, I had a Captain Action. I don't know what happened to my Captain Action doll, but I know that, and maybe they bought it later for me.
Yeah, not a doll, John. Figure, not a doll.
I absolutely respect that, Ed. You're yes, exactly. Just like in was it Best in Show when in the Christopher Guest movie where they go visit Larry. Oh God, the comedian. I can't think of his name, but his son has an action figure, and it's like it's not a doll, it's an action figure,
not a doll. Yeah,
absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Well,
of course it is a doll, really.
Of course it is, absolutely, man. But no, this is good. But I don't remember my Captain Action figure surviving, but what I do remember is I had the rubber mask and the costume for Aquaman.
Cool.
And my sister had more than one Ken doll, and they gave me her Ken doll. And we stretched Aquaman's outfit onto the Ken doll, which obviously was it a little bigger? Were they bigger than Barbie size?
About the same, you know, figures? Some of the dimensions might have been just a little bit different. About the same size, 1/6 scale. Yeah.
Okay, because and I know obviously Migos were a bit smaller.
Right. So that was actually created by the same guy who created Captain Action. That was a project he did a few years later, but yeah, those were about 8 inches tall. Captain Action, G.I. Joe, traditional Barbie were all bigger.
Was Captain Action Mattel?
Captain Action was Ideal. I don't know if you remember the Ideal company.
Oh, sure. Oh, 100%. Yeah. So, and was Barbie Mattel?
Barbie was Mattel. Yeah.
Okay, so this wasn't the Barbie people saying, well, let's create a figure for boys. This was Ideal.
No, it wasn't. What happened was a lot of times in those days, like inventors would have an idea and they'd sell it to the company. They weren't on staff, right? It wasn't like the R&D department. They'd sell the idea. So this idea was the G.I. Joe idea was sold to Hasbro. Like, oh, let's make a figure and then he can change it to an Army guy or a Navy guy or frogman.
Sure.
So then he said, well, here's the next idea. Let's make another figure. And now he's not going to change into an Army guy. He's going to change into a superhero guy. It can be Lone Ranger or Batman. And that's basically what they did. And they sold that to a different company, to Ideal.
That's awesome, man. And what were the years of Captain Action's existence as an available toy, right there from the department store or, the toys? Well, Bargain Town was what it was called when I was a kid. Toys R Us.
Remember that? Yeah, before, Bargain Town. Toys R Us was their tagline, right? And that became the whole brand name.
Yep.
Yeah. So Captain Action started in 1966, and that's really part of the reason why it was popular, because one of the characters that they licensed was Batman. So Batman debuts in January. Batman Adam West Show debuts in January, and then these toys are ready to go. And all the other licensees were, running around trying to catch up with that Batmania that probably peaked, right at the very beginning. And so there was this Batman toy for Captain Action. And, that as that sparked all the superhero stuff of that time, Captain Action was right there. And it only lasted for about 3 years, but,
wow.
The fans who loved it. And they brought him back, once before we brought him back. And, there's passionate fans out there. And that's what makes it all so much fun.
Well, and the great thing is too, I love the fact that not only are you using Captain Action, well, certainly reprinting these 5 issues. We'll get into the history of how DC got involved with Captain Action, but also the great thing was when you brought back the figure, you went to a lot of contemporary artists to create new versions of costumes and masks. And I'll let you rattle off some of the great artists that you've gotten involved.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah. So we, for like the figures, I don't have, I have this thing here is Dr. Evil. This is the bad guy. And the illustration that we used was Joe Jusko's.
Wow.
Joe was a Captain Action fan.
Sure.
We had pitched it out to a few guys like Alex Ross, Joe, and a few guys. And I think Joe would come over to our house and punch us if he didn't get the job. So we decided that's probably the best one, best guy to use. But he had a personal passion for it, and he's a great guy and a great artist. So it was such a win for us. And then beyond that, it was great. And as we worked on many different projects, we'd always get our favorite people and favorite artists. So guys like Paul Gulacy, Stephen Grant, Murphy Anderson, we dragged back into it. All the different folks that we used for different aspects. A lot of times they were fans. Sometimes they weren't. Sometimes we were just, fans of what they did.
Sure.
Art Bear, and like, Art, we love your stuff. And, he came on board and did some great things for us. So, that was like throwing a party and inviting all your art heroes or, comic heroes,
Yeah.
Fabian Nicieza, Stephen Grant writers as well. All these great people.
That's wonderful. And I also remember in particular, it's funny that he didn't come up in your grocery list of the great creators that came up with images for the masks. Walt Simonson, of course, doing the Thor.
Yeah.
I remember in particular. And I remember you both being at one of the New York cons, and Walt was at your booth signing and stuff. And yeah, oh, good Lord. Again, that's the great thing, man. I don't know if they had done Thor prior to that, but the great thing is it really is a Walt Simonson Thor.
Right.
And, so I don't, I bet that sold out pretty fast as far as that accessory.
It did. So that was a couple quick stories on that one. Number
Please.
One, I'm a little kid at Ithacon number 2, and Walt Simonson is like, he's done Manhunter. He was doing Rampaging Hulk at that time. And, I was like, Mr. Simonson, can you sign this thing? And he was a prince of a guy. It was one of those like little boy moments where, I hope every little fanboy meets a pro as kind and sweet as Walter is. And that was great. So, he always had a passion for his artwork, and he was so kind. So we do this Thor costume set for Captain Action. And we did one version with this Kirby artwork on the package. And then we did this deluxe version. And, as we're getting the images from the style guide from Marvel, we're like, all these images you're giving us stink. It's like, some crummy Vince Coletta Kirby.
Really? Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's like, well, I don't want to use that, and so we negotiated with Walter to use this beautiful image that Jeff Vaughn had commissioned him to use for one of the Overstreet price guides.
Sure.
And it was fantastic. And then we went back to the well a few times, and we did one with the bearded Thor, like Walter had done.
Yep.
And then we did one that was just the package Yeah, then we did a special one where the package was like the Walt Simonson face mask, and that was great. And getting those, and having Walter sign it for fans at conventions, like that was really fun, really cool.
Dude, I'm telling you, and it's truly one of the great pleasures of doing Word Balloon for 17 years has been getting to know Walter and Louise Simonson, and they're tremendous people. And just
They
like
really
you said, they're such a proper model for how to be good to fans. And I know my buddy Brian Bendis is like, Walt really set an example for Brian, and Brian is like always in his mind when he's at conventions, be as generous as Walt Simonson was to your fans, because he had that kind of life-changing experience meeting him as a kid, and it's one of the reasons why Brian's a comic creator today. So I get it.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So
P.S. I love the last Bendis tapes.
Just thanks, buddy.
Butt kissing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love those Bendis tapes.
Brian and I, next weekend, a week from Saturday, a week from tomorrow, as we're recording this, we're doing a Bendis Tapes live at Fan Expo in Chicago in Rosemont, Illinois. So if you're going to the Rosemont convention, it was fun. We had talked about it kind of in principle, and then like Wednesday or Thursday, he started promoting it, and I'm like, oh, I guess we're doing it. Great. I mean, I was coming anyway, and I knew I was going to see him, but I'm like, I guess I'm doing a panel at Fan Expo. That's fantastic. So that's Saturday, next Saturday afternoon, 5 p.m. local time, everybody.
Good. Saturday the 9th, it must be. 9th,
yes, and we won't stream it, but we certainly will record it, and it will be a later Word Balloon, so you can count on that.
Oh, that's great.
Great. I'm excited. No, it's going to be great. So how did DC get the license? I mean, do you know the business side of how this all came together?
Oh, sure. So, in the old days when these guys would, put together these deals, of course, in the 60s, no email, right? We talked about how they would hop in a cab and drive around Manhattan, and, the secretaries, who were always women then, would write up a contract on carbon copy, like real carbon copies, and they'd sign them right there. And he talked about how they had this idea, and then he like drove around Manhattan to get the license from these guys for the figures. Now, this book, and Mark Waid talks about it a little bit in the introduction. This comic was an unusual comic for DC because they weren't doing a lot of licensed properties at this time. So they did license out like Superman and Batman to be costume sets to the toy people. And then this particular project, came about and, started as a Mort Weisinger title, first 2 issues, then shifted over to Julie Schwartz's camp, and he did the next 3. And, it's a cool comic. It's a good looking comic. It's important for all these, interesting comic historian reasons, but, it's also so much of a time machine to a certain amount of people where, you just feel like such a little kid. And, as we've been doing this Captain Action thing, the DC folks have always been super kind to us. Everybody, Paul Levitz, Dan DiDio, my good pal Steve Rotterdam was at DC a while, and they always were very kind, and we tried to put the deal together in a bunch of different ways. We never could seem to do it. And so now as we kept trying, and finally we figured out a way to make this book through IDW, tuck it into a license. Greg Goldstein at IDW is a fan and super supportive and helped put that together. Michael Polis on our team and Greg kind of made it all happen. And Scott Dunbier, the editor, has always been he's been a very supportive person in many, many ways, but he's also, a giant Wally Wood and Gil Kane.
Sure.
So that made all the sense in the world too.
Who drew this cover? This is the first issue, and you can see 12 cents. Everybody, God, remember when comics were 12 cents? That's when I started being aware of comics in my very young age. But I was at the tail end of the 12-cent era. as far as people buying me comics. But there you see right there, boom, it's Captain Action, Action Boy, and Stand Back Superman. This is a job for Captain Action, which is great. So who did this cover?
Yeah, what nerve, right? Like Stand Back Superman. Like, geez,
he's the star of the book. This is the classic Ed, honestly, and I know you're laughing as well. But I love when people are like, well, Green Arrow is going up against Solomon Grundy. How's he going to beat him? I'm like, the name of the comic is Green Arrow. He's gonna win. Jesus. Right. So of course he's the star of the book. So of course Stand Back Superman.
He's the star of the book. Yeah, well, you know, we one of the things we love, I'll answer your question right away, but one of the things we love about this property is so many great artists, so many of your favorite artists were involved with this property over the years. And you can even argue like Jack Kirby art was used on the package. So, you know, there is a little taste of, you know, all different folks. So for this, the first issue, the insides are beautiful Wally Wood artwork. But the cover is a Carmine Infantino layout that Irv Novick penciled over it. So as you look, you probably can see like, the composition seems very Infantino-esque, real in your face. And then the figure work is so much Novick. Maybe I was thinking Kim Novak. I don't know. A little bit of like that figure of Captain Action, I think is a little off the way his arm is and his shoulder. And I think that's because Novick was trying to be very true, I imagine, to Infantino's layout.
Sure. No. And it's that kind of, great, even though it's a flat image and stuff, that idea of, that's something that I think Kirby did as well in terms of that forced perspective of, kind of the fist and the arm coming at you and stuff like that. So I think that's great. And I'm always fascinated by, and I'm a massive Kurt Swan fan, but I do love the occasional other artists that drew Superman. I mean, really since the 40s, for example. So it's great to see a Novick Superman. And as we mentioned, some of the other greats. And God, is Superman in the issue?
So Superman is in the issue. There's this bad guy who's assumed Captain Action's identity, like that old trope. So, it's like, wait, Captain Action has gone bad. And it's like, no, I haven't. I got to go straighten this out. So they go to confront this bad guy, and Superman is there to confront the bad guy as well. He's like, well, what's happening? And Captain Action, there's this beautiful Wally Wood full pager, essentially this scene where he's like, stand back, Superman. I got you go do your thing. I got this under control. And the nice part about that is that's all Wally Wood. Maybe I can even show you. Oh yeah.
Here, I'll take down the cover so you can
hear. Oh yeah. So that's all Wally Wood.
Wow, look at that, everybody. Jeez. And also on the opposite page as well, it reminds me of All-Star Comics from the early 70s when they did the JSA and the Super Squad, and they brought back the Golden Age Superman, and that's just such classic Wally Wood Superman right there. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and our Wally Wood experts have told us that Wallace Wood always wanted to draw the real Superman, and he didn't really have a lot of opportunity. He inked Superboy for a while. He did those beautiful Earth 2 Superman, but this was his chance to draw at the time, the real Superman, the Earth 1 Superman. So, what a nice treat for a brilliant artist to be able to do that.
So much so. Absolutely, man. Here again. And you'll tell me which specific issue your cover is from, but this is another Captain Action cover. This is Gil Kane, as you said. As you see from the credits, Gil Kane, Wally Wood. In the 5 issues beyond the first issue, were there other DC heroes that appeared in the 5 issues?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. To your answer, that was issue number 3. That Giordano inks over Gil Kane.
Right. Boom.
And you can see we basically used that. For the thing. In the comic itself, there's another mention of the Batmobile. So, Captain Action had his own supercar, and it was as a little kid, you're probably, oh boy, that's great. I guess Batman's coming next. But never really had that opportunity to meet with other DC heroes within that.
That's
he was busy fighting bad guys, but it would have been so cool.
Yeah, and I mean, the great thing is Captain Action certainly had his own group of villains, and of course Action Boy as well, his Robin, if you will. And here, I'll bring this. Who are these one-eyed aliens that they're swatting down?
Oh yeah, so those are some goofy aliens who come in these strange ships. You can see their ships over there in the corner.
Okay, yeah.
I guess if you were kind, you'd say they look like traditional rock star microphones, but
sure.
they look pretty silly, and the bad guys look silly too. So they invade the world, and Captain Action and Action Boy, in rapid succession, change into other superheroes to obliterate this horrible menace.
Is that on the left? Because as you say, the aliens' ships are on the right. On the left, is that Captain Action's vehicle?
Yeah, that's his car, the Silver Streak. So
nice.
It was this funky car, and as we've gotten too involved with Captain Action over the years, we found this manufacturer who made a thing called an aqua car that looks so much like this. So I think it was inspired by this crazy oh yeah, here's a good picture of the
stand by.
Yeah,
there we go.
Of the,
look at that. Very Batmobile-esque, but one windshield rather than the cockpit look. But it does kind of have that Futura, the original design of the Batmobile that George Barris kind of reconfigured into the Batmobile. But you could definitely see the influence. Was it Ford Futura for the Batmobile?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And even this had a siren at the top, kind of like the Batmobile, the TV Batmobile.
Did they make the toy? Obviously it's in the comic, but did they make the vehicle as well?
Yeah, they sure did. Yeah, that's a little bit of a holy grail for fans.
I bet.
Typically they go for, about $1,000.
Sure.
I paid less for real cars.
Do you own one?
Days.
Do you own one?
No, I don't. I've got to get serious and get one. We've tried hard to make a new one too. And that there's a lot of pluses and minuses to that too. But the original toy, you could also put it in the water. So it was like a boat and a car.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. Oh,
yeah.
Ed, again, I mean, I was a G.I. Joe kid. I was a Captain Action kid. I was also a Major Matt Mason, which I know was.
Oh, love Major Matt Mason. Yeah.
Oh my God. And you'll forgive me, Ed, but I got to show it. Topps has been working with Mego, I think, and putting out the newer action figures. And they've got a Planet of the Apes line, and I had to get James Franciscus Brent.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Better look at the back there of an actual picture of Franciscus.
Oh,
but
man.
I have to, and again, this is the great thing, and I would imagine it's the same for the Captain Action stuff. I've got to get a space helmet for Brent because it doesn't come with a space helmet, but I can't afford a Major Matt Mason. I mean, I'm sure I can find a beat up one that's probably reasonably priced, but most of the ones I see are like the pristine ones, and they're a few $100 and stuff, and it's like, all right, I don't need that.
Yeah,
but man, no, I would love to get, and really, I should bug you for one. But as far as Captain Action,
Captain Action had a beautiful helmet for Flash Gordon, and I think I might have a few of those. We'll see if that would fit on the. Oh, well, that's one.
No. I don't want. Oh no, I don't want. I was gonna say I don't want you to. No. And I also know, and I love, and I find it fascinating, the rivalry of the Mego people and the Captain Action people. And I even remember being with you and our good friend Art Baltazar, and you going, "Yeah, you're a pretty good guy for a Mego guy." And I know you were teasing him and stuff. And yeah, it's like, no, man, I get it. It's Mets Yankees, it's Cubs White Sox. I mean, I totally understand, and it's so funny.
It kind of is. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. Continue, please.
Yeah, it kind of is, but in this case, the Mego guys are totally wrong. Like anybody could see that they're wrong and we're right. So I mean that's the that's the difference between like the Mets Yankee. Yeah,
I'm hip. No, I get it, man. And I was just I don't even remember what grade as far as Migos were when they were really, really popular late 70s. But I was just a little too old for Mego action figures.
Yep.
So there you go, man. I mean, yeah, we're around the same age. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, I certainly appreciated them. And as you know, we were talking about it before we started recording, my love for Star Trek, and Mego certainly was very much involved with Star Trek. You had the bridge and the little transporter that would spin, and it would like a magician's box. It would spin, press the button, and it would look like the action figure disappeared and stuff. Hilarious. Yeah. So, but I was Major Matt Mason. I had, and it's funny, that's what inspired me to talk about Matt Mason when you showed the action car. I had the Moon Crawler and the Moon Base.
Love that crawler.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh man. I mean, all that stuff. And in the case of Matt Mason, and I'm sure I've discussed it before, the fact that they used real conceptual art for things they never built for the real NASA program. But, again, the toy people grabbed it and obviously made them accessories for Matt Mason. So it's great to know about the action car. And, I'm going to ask you about their backstory. Are there civilian identities for Captain Action and Action Boy?
Yeah, they in this DC series, the art is beautiful. The people involved are wonderful. It was Jim Shooters was writing it, as a teenager, and in fact, the first issue has Shooters' first credit, and that's because Wally Wood put it into the splash page, right?
Oh, that's amazing. That's so cool. And again, yeah, I mean, Jim was. Yeah. 15, 16 when he was doing this?
Yeah. So, yeah. So you can see there,
absolutely.
DC wasn't crediting people, but it was inked into the page. So
outstanding.
And Jim tells the story how Wally did that because Jim would take time to almost storyboard the books, right? And provide that level of vision to the artist. And Wallace Wood felt very appreciative of that. So that was nice. So I say all that because, God bless him, and, hardworking guy. I think he was helping to support his family as a teenager doing all that. But the stories in the first few issues of this book are not that great. And the secret identity for Captain Action, his secret identity is Clive Arno. And, he has a C and an A on his shirt. It's a little
on the nose, little on the nose. He's he's kind of like an Indiana Jones or Carter Hall type guy where he runs a museum, and that's kind of the backstory that they gave him initially. So he has his secret action cave is like beneath the museum. I hope he doesn't get fired from his job, right? But wouldn't have access to his action cave. I was going to say, exactly. You vacate the premises, Arno. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's hilarious. Clive Arno. Yeah. That's great, man. Too funny. Well, again, it's just amazing that Jim, being a kid, was writing this stuff. And of course, he also wrote Legion of Superhero stories and did a lot of significant work. He's the guy who did the Death of Pharaoh Lad, which certainly was an eye-opening story back in the 60s. Jim will be at Terrificon at the end of the last weekend in July at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, and I will be there, and we're going to do a panel, and I guarantee you we'll be talking about Captain Action.
Oh, yeah. I hope everyone brings their Captain Action books and have them sign them. Yeah, it'd be a great 100%. Thing. He's one of the last, living creators for this book. Mark Wade contributed the intro, and Mark did a great job. Of course, Mark's a very robust guy.
Oh yeah, and was Mark a Captain Action fan as well? Obviously, or did
Mark.
And he knows the stuff regardless, but yeah,
he grew up as a Captain Action fan. So when we he's helped us a bunch in the past. And as, as this thing came up, hey, Mark, would you be interested? It was like, would I, sort of thing. And he gave us a fantastic introduction and did such a nice job on it. So,
there were 5 comics. Mark does the introduction. What other kind of back matter is in this IDW collection?
Oh, sure. So we included a bunch of things. We wanted to kind of tag the bases for all the different artists who were involved. So we made sure that like some of those Kurt Schaffenberger ads were in there, and some of the pages from the Yellow Book, that promotional booklet by Chick Stone, were in there. And there you go. And we also have some roughs that Gil Kane did, these beautiful roughs. I mean, he's such a great person with composition and anatomy. The roughs themselves look beautiful. And then we did a thing, and this was, this is probably inside baseball, but you will know exactly what I mean. Most of your word balloon guys will too. But when you're looking through like an archives edition, and in the old days, how they'd have the half page ad, like, on page 17, there'd be an ad for something else. And
absolutely.
I think that's always poses a quandary for someone reprinting, because you don't necessarily want to put the old ad in. You can. Sometimes, like in those DC archives, they would just put a logo. So like there'd be a, Hawkman logo every time this happened, and it got old. So we did something that was a little nuts, admittedly. We said, let's create some faux ads for things that didn't exist, but make them look like they did exist. So, So in these half-page ads, we came up with these crazy things, and Michael Polis did a lot of this, and Joe Ahern did a lot of this.
Look at that.
Like, here's Captain Action Choco bars, that didn't exist. And what else do we have? Oh yeah, here's like Captain Action board game, which is a little bit of a cheat because we've got a board game we're working on. So that's kind of.
That's great to hear, man. And is that the Flash Gordon helmet that Action is wearing?
No, that was his helmet for he had a jetpack. You know how like Sean Connery uses that jetpack in
Thunderball. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was good. And we did put an ad for, this was kind of interesting when you were asking about Barbie. There were
Lady Action, sure.
Yeah, there were figures in the old days where they didn't call her Lady Action back then, but you could get a Supergirl, Batgirl, Wonder Woman, and Mera, Aquaman's wife, as figures. So, these half-page ads were, probably too much work, trading cards, but we had so much fun. And, if the idea is as you're flipping through and you want to, feel like you're in 1967, we hope those ads do that. So that's, one of those other little extra nutty things.
I love it, Ed. Honestly, any chance that maybe in a future one you might do a Hostess fruit pie Captain Action 1-page adventure?
We are definitely doing. We've talked about that a few times, and absolutely those fruit pie things are just crazy.
Man. Absolutely. It's again, man. This is our childhood, and it was. Again, we're sitting on the porch yelling at clouds right now, Ed. But it was a great, simpler time. There weren't that many entertainment choices for children as there are today, and that's why good Lord, you really would, just like looking at an album, a record album, and some of the wonderful art, not only on the cover but inside and stuff. You really would immerse yourself into the experience. And that's why doing the fake house ads is a tremendous idea, because it really evokes that time. And I'm glad you did that. I think that's wonderful, man. So the book has been out for a month. I'm sorry that we're only talking about it now, but it came out right at the beginning of June, and it's IDW, everybody. And there's again the cover, and available all over the place. I'm sure smart comic stores already have it, but if not, you can order it through your local store. I know it's available on Amazon as well. And yeah, I just think this is such an interesting time. Let's talk about Captain Action's villains.
Sure.
We mentioned Dr. Evil, of course, and this is before Austin Powers' Dr. Evil.
Yeah, so the original Dr. Evil, and as we were rebuilding the property, there was a while where the New Line Cinema people were holding that deer, and then they just kind of let it go. So we got the name back. So Dr. Evil is here's like the toy of Dr. Evil. You can see such a crazy guy. We had it so his brain pops out, and you can put different brains into the figure. In the story, these DC books, you'll find that Dr. Evil is actually Captain Action's father-in-law. So, for everybody who's had problems with their in-laws, this is like the worst problem, right? Your father-in-law is a super bad guy. So
he wasn't married to Lady Action, was he?
No, there was no Lady Action in the old days. In fact, Captain Action was a widower.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so here's his wife, Catherine.
Catherine Action. Catherine Arno.
Yes. I tell my wife I married her, whose name is Catherine, just because of this comic. It's not true. But but
yeah, looking all my life for a Captain Action bride. Absolutely, man. That's fantastic.
Right.
And that's
right,
Gil Kane. That's another Gil Kane cover.
Yeah, beautiful Gil Kane. And one thing that we should talk about is Weisinger was the editor on the first two issues. He brought in like one of his best writers, Jim Shooter.
Sure.
And then it shifts to Julie Schwartz, and then Schwartz did a fascinating thing where he assigned the writing to Gil Kane, who was itching to write. He would go on and write like His Name is Savage and Black Mark and all that. All that sort of. Stephen Ernest, thank you. That's very cool.
Yeah, Steve. He recently bought the issue. I'm saying this for the audio audience, but we just showed this great Gil Kane cover, and Steve says he recently bought that issue to have some great Gil Kane art. I get it, man. I totally get it.
Yeah. So so that's good. The bad guy in the first couple issues is this guy named Krellick, who's this bald kind of bad guy, and we'd love to make a figure of Krellick. He's never been done before, and we've got a couple ideas for that, so that might be fun. And in the last issue, I don't want to be polarizing to your audience, but the last issue is an amazing story. Here's the French version of it.
Stand by. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
But yeah, here's the US version.
Yes.
And Captain Action fights this guy who's kind of like a political demagogue, and the things this guy does, again, without getting hyper political, resonate with some of the things that the country's been experiencing lately. It's amazing. This 1968 comic kind of touched on those issues. So that was
no, continue, please.
Yeah, that was Gil Kane.
1968 1968 was one of those sadly very traumatic years as far as the 60s culture war goes. So it doesn't surprise me. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of, I think, Silver Age books get dismissed for their goofiness, or younger people will see stuff. I forget who saw a Marvel book recently, and there was a policeman, and someone said, I wonder if this was inspired by Fred Gwynn's character from Car 54. Where are you? Because he had a real kind of long Fred Gwynn face, kind of a Sherlock Holmesy kind of face, but certainly Fred Gwynn, Herman Munster, everybody, and without the Frankenstein makeup. And it's like, oh, absolutely, they would do it all the time. I know you know this as well, that just for fun, if it was a Western, all of a sudden you'd see the cast of Gunsmoke in the background.
Absolutely.
Like so yeah, it doesn't surprise me that both from and certainly got a lot of 50s and 60s Superman stories. You got Pat Boone on the cover because he's a teen heartthrob. You got Alan Funt in a candid camera moment where he catches Clark Kent changing into Superman in a phone booth.
Yeah. I remember one time your man, Kurt Swan, inked by Murphy Anderson, put Archie Bunker and Edith in a crowd, like looking at Superman flying, right?
Sure. Absolutely, man. And of course, the great Superman versus Muhammad Ali cover that Neil Adams did. I guess Joe Kubert actually did the original rough, and then Neil did his version and stuff. But of course, that the crowd watching the fight is peppered with 70s celebrities and stuff. So the Welcome Back Kotter kids are there, and John Wayne said no, so they had to put a mustache on John Wayne, a big giant mustache and stuff. Jimmy Carter is there watching. You know, it's no, I love that stuff, and so it doesn't surprise me.
Well, you know, if we were to do that story, you know, this story today, or the one I just showed you, you know, that would have been like a Bleeding Cool article, right? Like, you know, how dare those guys get so political and reflect, but you know, it's 50 years ago. So amazing.
Well, it was the Cold War. I mean, truly, it was the Cold War. The Cold War, like it or not, I mean, that's what fueled so many of the secret agent stories of the day.
Sure.
And I'm curious about, because it's great to hear that you've got processed comic art pages and stuff. I know talking to others, like my buddies Tim and Steve Seeley, the brothers, they are big Masters of the Universe people, and they wrote the coffee table book that I believe IDW put out. Either them or Dark Horse, I forget who. Yeah. But trying to find not only, well, certainly, you know, conceptual art, really conceptual art from the toy company. That's pretty hard to find because nobody thought to keep this stuff. I mean, it would be thrown away. So I wonder with Captain Action, was that the issue?
Yeah, well, one of the things we found, like the crazy ephemera, we found the original painting for the Captain Action model kit, and we put that in the book. So that was from the painting, artist unknown, and you know, what a nice thing. But you know, if you go looking for it, it's hard to find. And with this book, as we were putting this book together, you know, one of the problems was, you know, everybody's involved is super fussy, right? Like Scott Dunbier and me and Joe and Michael, we're all, you know, such comic nerds that we were loath to just, you know, take pictures from an old comic. So the idea we came up with was, believe it or not, these were reprinted in Australia for this comic called Tip Top Comics.
Wow.
And Tip Top would just take like a bunch of DC books and reprint them in black and white. And they're very, very hard to find, like even amongst Australian folks, collectors. And they'd have like one issue would be like, you know, Teen Titans 43 and Hawk and the Dove 2 and Captain Action #1, right? Like all that late 60s stuff. So So as we looked at this, Scott said, you know, I can work with these. Let's get these in. We'll scan them and we'll, you know, and then we'll recolor them. So we tried to buy them and we couldn't. I mean, it wasn't like money was an issue. So we found some great collectors who had the books and they like shipped them to us. And some were from Australia, right? You know, it cost so much to ship them. So they loaned them. We gave them back and we credit these great fans, you know, in the book for their help. Super kind of them. And we print it. And as we're doing this and coloring, and the coloring, we wanted to be very true to the original comic. So, you know, sometimes you'll look at like, you know, Neil Adams story and the coloring is much slicker, you know, where you know, everything is modeled, you know, it's like, wait, I don't think it looked like that in 1972.
Sure.
So we wanted to be very true to the way it was. There's a time and place for that. But for this project, we thought it'd be better to keep it flat.
Yeah.
And correct. So we're in the process of this. And the fella, believe it or not, the collector who has the stats came forward and said, you know, would you like to shoot these from the stats? So like your younger viewers might not know, in the old days, you'd get the page and you'd take a picture of it, and then you'd make like a first generation copy that would be used to do everything else. so we've got these stats for the original issues. They're gorgeous. They're clean and crisp. And then we recolored them. So, all that means that our production for this book, inside things, look, very crisp, very clear.
Look at that.
And we're so, so happy with it. I don't think you could do better unless you had the original artwork, and maybe even then that might have deteriorated. So,
dude, I hear you, and I'm so glad that you did keep it traditional, because you're right. The comics really did. I mean, we're really blessed with incredible coloring that has happened for the last 25 years.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And truly, I mean, I love looking at comics, modern comics on my iPad, and even older ones as well. I've got Marvel Unlimited, I've got DC Universe, and it's great to see that stuff. And you're absolutely right. I remember 10 or 15 years ago when Neil was remastering a lot of his old stuff and kind of improving the color. But it really did. It's like, oh no, man, it's that as they said, the 4-color process of back then. Hell, you likely know as well. I know Mark Waid does. Downstate Illinois, Centralia. That's where a lot of the color processing was done during the Silver and Bronze Age and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of weird. Centralia was known for that, and Payday candy bars, the caramel peanut candy bars.
Get out of town. My wife loves those Paydays with the peanuts. Yeah.
Yep. They've since been co-opted, and I don't even know if they still have a Payday plant in Centralia. But that was the birth of Payday, and yeah, I didn't know until talking to Mark about the fact that Centralia was where all the color processing was done, and literally like middle-aged women just. All right, that needs number 2, that needs number 4, and then Neil, I remember, told me the story when he helped figure out with Saul Harrison how to double the color palette that DC was working with. And the various shades he suggested and stuff, and it just like opened things up. So,
yeah. And I mean, Neil, like my favorite Neil Adams colorist story is, he told me a story about those beautiful Tomahawk covers, that he did, like that run, and every issue has like this beautiful color palette. And, he talked about how he did that like after hours, and he wasn't supposed to, and that like 12 issues, 11 issues, something like that. They're just all wonderful, and that use of color, like who would think on Tomahawk of all places?
Well, just like Steven said, getting the Gil Kane cover of Captain Action that he bought recently, before Joe Kubert died, I bought a bunch of 10-cent Sergeant Rock covers. And I love Sergeant Rock anyway. And the interior art is great, but my God, such spectacular covers from the late 50s and early 60s. And I bought like 6 or 7 of them, and I had Joe sign them. And I'm so glad I got those, because, and then truly it's been my passion as well, just like Steven, to look for Silver Age comics, really for the cover art. And I bought several Nick Carty Aquaman covers just for Nick Carty art.
Absolutely, yeah.
And got the great first Black Manta cover. And then it wasn't Nick Carty. I don't know who did it, but there was a great, and so typical of Silver Age comics, it's the death of Aquaman on the cover, and he's on a slab, kind of like a funeral procession, and it's Superman, Batman, Metamorpho, and Hawkman carrying Aquaman's dead body, and behind them, Wonder Woman is consoling Mera, who's crying like a widow and stuff. And it's this amazing book. And I was able to get them reasonably. And I wonder, with the Captain Action books, there's only 5 of them. But for collectors, are they, to find the original 12-cent comics, are they reasonable Silver Age comics? Or because of the fact that there were only 5, are they expensive and super rare?
Yeah. They, they're kicking around. Although I will say, I know that cover you're talking about. And aren't they underwater? Is there?
Yes.
And doesn't like Hawkman have one of those underwater helmets over?
And so does Batman. Absolutely. Very good. Yes, you remember. Very good, man. I forgot about that moment.
Yeah, that's so crazy. It's like,
I had to get it. And I got it for like, no more than $20. And I think I spent less than that. Because, and this is before Jason Momoa. and the revised interest in Aquaman. It doesn't surprise me that Captain Action had an Aquaman costume because the 60s cartoon of Aquaman was incredibly popular. And in fact, he and Superman shared a Saturday morning hour.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. I love that cartoon. And
sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to your question too. Yeah. You can find the Captain Action books around, and, there's a lot of reader copies for, 20 or 30 bucks.
Yeah.
The Wally Wood guys like the first couple issues, and then Wally would do the inks on subsequent issues as well. So, you do fight like, Wally Wood collectors if you're looking to complete the set.
I hear you.
And there's also a bunch of international issues. So, once you complete the old DC books, then you could get the French editions, those tip tops, the Spanish editions. They're all kind of cool and wonky.
Martin tells me that was a Nick Carty cover, Aquaman number 30.
Oh yeah.
I guess. I don't know why, and I don't know what other artists I could think of, but it certainly was a slightly different style than like his Teen Titan covers and his later late 60s covers that had a really interesting look as well. But
and what I think he really came out of his shell design wise, like right after that. Those
I agree.
Those beautiful like Aquaman covers were like, I remember the one where Aqua Girl's like floating and there's a cave and Aquaman's coming. There's bad guys like waiting to ambush him. And, some of those where Carty would play around with the logo are just, gorgeous.
Yes. Well. That's the other thing too, is that like for a very brief moment, a lot of Nick Carty covers had different logo dressing than the traditional ones. And I think those are really, again, just such striking covers, and the interiors are striking as well for both Titans and Aquaman. No, that's a great time and everything. And again, I think Captain Action very blessed for having such talented artists, and again, young Jim Shooter doing the writing among others. Well, do we know the other writers that did Shooter only do one? Did who else wrote?
So Shooter did the first two, and then Gil Kane writes the last three. So and that was his first chance writing and illustrating. So it's and like they're a little wonky. I'll admit there's one where Captain or Dr. Evil goes to this planet and everybody looks just like him, and it's a coincidence, and that's kind of hard to understand. But I think that Gil Kane really shows his writing chops just 3 issues into it with that issue 5 with the demagogue character. And
interesting.
It's like, holy smokes, like good for you, Gil Kane. Like that's just brilliant.
Well, and then he went on to, and I'm assuming it was after Captain Action that he made his Name is Savage one shot that I own one of the original copies of that. And I love that. And I forget his Sword and Sandal. Was it Black Mark? Was it Black?
Correct. Mark? Yeah, Black Mark. Yep, that Black paperback. Mark. Yep. Yeah.
No, those are amazing. And again, that's why it's great. I'm so glad that you did this. I know, obviously, because you've got the license, and you're not only doing the reprints of the old stuff, but you're also making new products as well. I'm excited to hear about when the Captain Action game is ready. We'll have to talk about that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's great. We've got some pins that we're selling at San Diego, and we've also got this funny thing. So for the super fans, we have a limited number of 100 of these, but with a dust jacket. Today's beautiful books, you don't really need a dust jacket, but being the old book nerds, we love dust jackets. So we've got this dust jacket with here you go. We've got this dust jacket where Dr. Evil takes over, and
that's great.
He's ripping through, and he's like crossed off all the Captain Action logos and puts his own logo on. And so that's just way too much fun.
So will Mark be signing dust jackets at San Diego for you guys?
Yeah, in fact, we have a panel Thursday at I want to say 4:00. I probably should know that. Thursday, 4:00 at San Diego. Mark will be on our panel. Scott will be on the panel. We've got a few other guest stars, and we'll be talking about all the stuff that's going on and a lot of the stories, behind this that got us to where we are now. So,
well, I hope that they stream it, and I will certainly watch it if because it will help me in my research to talk to Shooter just a couple weeks later at Terrificon at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. So that's wonderful to hear, man. Also available if people really want to get into the mythos of Captain Action. I know a few years ago you wrote that beautiful collection of short stories of wasn't it? It wasn't a novel. It was short stories, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we've got a lot of that. We've done 3 prose novels of Captain Action. We've done toys. We've done 3 prose novels, and then we did 1 lady action. Jim Beard was our writer for Captain Action, and Ron Fortier was our lady action, and that was a great one too. And now we're getting back into the business. So this is a prose novel from Moonstone. Moonstone does this clever thing where they call them double shots. So the idea is like very disposable, like the old, what paperback used to be, where they're, kind of cheap, quick read, thin. And so we've got this one is coming out this month of July.
That's great.
For Captain Action. This is like a contemporary adventure. Mike Bullock, who collaborated with us so much, Captain Action. In fact, he was, when you had asked that question about did Captain Action team up with those other DC heroes, we did do a comic adventure where he teamed up with the Phantom, and that was so much fun. And the original conceit that we had for that was Captain Action had dated the Phantom's wife. He was going to be like the old boyfriend, and the King Features people said, "Oh no, that didn't happen. That's not the way it happened."
Hilarious.
So we couldn't do that story. That was a shame. But Mike Bullock wrote this great 2-parter, and Art T. Bear did some of the covers, and it was a great story. And
so
it's good to have Mike Bullock back.
Is Moonstone doing prose stories, or are they graphic novels?
Yeah, so this is a prose story, and they had done a bunch of prose story. They had done a bunch of comics. We had we did so many comics with them. Yeah, like here's one we did where we had a special Murphy Anderson cover for Midtown Comics.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the last cover that Murphy did, and you can see the silver streak in the background flying, driven by Lady Action. Yeah. So these were these were comics that we did. I think Stephen Grant was writing this by this point. Oh yeah, this one even had Jim Shooter did this beautiful introduction for us.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, he's such a sweet guy.
Jim's amazing. Absolutely.
Kupperberg wrote a story in this. Your buddy
Paul did. Wonderful.
Yeah, Paul's been a great supporter as well. And then we did 5 issues at Dynamite, and we'd love to get back into the comic business just because we love it so much.
We got to Ed, we got to figure out doing a radio drama of Captain Action.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes, it would. Cool? And I'm volunteering to be the narrator or the announcer, like Brace Beamer back in the Lone Ranger days or whatever.
Oh, that would be great. Well, I know we share that's a whole nother episode of Word Balloon, but I know we share the love for OTR. And just,
yes, old time radio, everybody. That's what OTR stands for. You damn right.
Yeah.
And Ed, I don't know if you've listened. I'll allow us a little tangent now. But and also I know you got to go, so we'll wrap things up. But I am so pleased that audio drama has found new life in podcasting. Audible, Spotify, hell, the most, I don't know if you knew this, but the most downloaded new podcast either last month or May was a new Batman drama that DC did with Spotify. And it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I was so disappointed in that first one they did. And I think this is this is a second like the first one, the Batman podcast was so cheeseball, and I was so disappointed in it. And we had a lot of Superman episodes in the old days, and never really had a Batman audio drama in the old days. So
no, other than the fact that Batman was a guest star on the old Superman serial, and there are a handful of Superman episodes where Robin gets kidnapped, and yeah, crazy stuff, man. No, but again, I really love the level of sophistication that is happening now with audio drama. And my God, man, you slip your earbuds in and, you can easily, just like in the old time radio days, but with better audio fidelity. I mean, my God, it's like you're right there. And it's so wonderful. I'm very impressed. A lot of great original ideas, but also a lot of licensing of DC, Marvel, and other IPs that everyone knows. And hell, there's even a recent Star Trek that covers some of the new characters that are in the Star Trek Picard series, 7 of 9 and Raffi.
You've been in such a good mood. I don't want to talk about Star Trek Picard with you because I know you'll get angry.
It's my Bill Bixby trigger. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry about Star Trek. Exactly, Mr. McGee. You are not wrong. Well, again, well done, Ed. I'm so pleased that this book is out, as you said, years in the making, but now finally from IDW, we've got the classic collection of Captain Action, and right there, I mean, 4 reasons to buy it, including the Mark Waid intro. But I'm so glad you opened it up and you showed us some of the great back matter that's in there. And,
it's a lot. One other person who's involved, I should just say, is the designer for this book is Pete Carlson, and you might not know his name, but he was Joe Kubert's right-hand man for years and years, and he's a brilliant designer in his own right. And I've worked with him on a couple projects before, and Scott actually suggested that we work with him, and we were just thrilled. So he's just been Pete has been fantastic, and another part of this big team. It takes a village to reprint a comic, I guess, is the way the saying should go.
You're also involved with Ithacon from Ithaca College.
Oh yeah, that's one of my great joys. So I do a lot of teaching at Ithaca College. I'm on the faculty of the School of Business, and this is the type of thing that makes my dad's eye roll. One of the classes I teach is all about trade shows and conventions, and we have the kids promote and manage the Ithacon Comic Convention, which is the nation's second longest running Comic-Con. San Diego's the longest. Ithacon's number 2. And then Shelton Drum's amazing Heroes Con, which was just last weekend, is number 3. So that's great fun to do that, Ithacon.
Please finish.
We've had you come in and speak to the class. I'll tell your listeners, and that's always great, John. They love you, and you tell them great things, and just so much fun.
It's my pleasure. And honestly, if you're a young creator or a young organizer that would like to maybe get in the con business, this is a reason to go to Ithaca College, and take classes from me, because that's the thing. You really are getting practical experience in the same way as the Kubert School or some of the great art schools, SCAD and the like, as far as becoming a creative in comics, but the Pratt School and all the others. But that's the great thing is, this is a real thing. Obviously there was a pause with the pandemic, but the live shows are coming back. You yourself say you're gonna do this great panel on Thursday at San Diego Comic-Con in just a couple of weeks. Are you planning on doing other conventions to promote the Captain Action stuff?
Yeah, we probably should have got our act together and done something at Mitch's convention. I just, all I hear is just fantastic things about that. And, we've been at New York Comic-Con for years and years, and we'll probably do something there as well. Good. And, and we'll, one other thing about Ithacon that you would really enjoy is that these students, not only do they learn like the nuts and bolts, like how do you promote and, how do you be really good to the guests and make sure that they have a good experience, but, they end up like learning so much about our guests and then, forming these crazy friendships. So like we had some amazing guests this year, and two folks that they probably would never know are Mike Gold, fantastic editor and contributor to comics in so many ways. And then Don Simpson, who was Megaton Man, and Don and Mike worked together on Wasteland for DC. So when those two guys were together, they were a riot. When they're independent, they were a riot. And I've got all these, 19, 20, 20-year-old students, and they go on about how much they love Megaton Man and all the stuff that Mike Gold told them, and they can't believe it. And, it's just wonderful to see. Absolutely wonderful.
That's fantastic, man. And again, another great guy, Mike, that I've really gotten to know over 17 years. And
you Chicago guys always stick together.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And also even further, a Chicago radio connection. And we have so many mutual friends that were in the broadcast business, and that, again, we're both friends with these people. So yeah, not only is it like comic book time when Mike comes to town, but it's radio time as well. And I love it, man. And it's true. I was listening to Mike's work on a lot of the Chicago radio stations in the 70s before he moved to the East Coast and started working for DC. And then also, obviously, First Comics being in suburban Chicago, Evanston, right in the shadow of Northwestern University. I was in the town right next to Evanston, Wilmette, and it was driving me crazy because it was during my college years. And I'm downstate in Bloomington, Illinois, and Normal. And I'm like, oh, man, I'd be like hanging out at First Comics all the time, getting to know these guys. But thankfully, I've gotten to know several of them now as we've gotten older and stuff. Guys like Mike Grell and and it's Howard Chaikin and certainly Mike. So, no, it's great. And I'm like, tell me more about First Comics. I want to know everything. So
yeah, Mike is just he's a spectacular person, and he's one of those guys who puts his money where his mouth is and fights for the causes he believes in, and much respect for that fella. Wow,
100%, absolutely. No, great, really, really effective talker. I should hit you up to get Don Simpson on Word Balloon. I'd love to.
Oh, Don was great. So I saw Don was online or put a social media post out. He had done some convention somewhere, and they put him right next to cosplayers and the Star Wars guys, and they were really loud, and he couldn't talk with the fans, and he was so frustrated. And I said, and I didn't know him at that time. Now I love the guy. And I said, hey, Don, love to invite you to our show, and we'll treat you like a king. And, he was very dubious, like, oh boy, here we go again. And the students really treated him so very well. And he was a fantastic guest, just fantastic. And, he's doing so much now, and he writes so much, and he's so thoughtful about comics history too. So I think he seems like the perfect Word Balloon guest.
I would love to have him on, not only Megaton Man, but am I right? Didn't he do that one? I don't remember if it was oversized or not, but it was called Destroy.
Yeah.
And it was just one really long action battle between superheroes or whatever. And I remember that and just loving that. So yeah, no, I'm a big.
Yeah. He did Border Worlds, and, he did some stuff as Anton Drac, and, and there, the guy's got a phenomenal memory. So he'll be like, oh yeah. And then it was like April of that year, and Dennis Kitchen called me, and we were eating pastrami. It's like, wow, what a great memory you have.
Another great guy, Dennis Kitchen. Absolutely, man. This is great.
Yeah.
No, Ed, as always, man, great to see you. Congratulations once again, everybody from IDW. It's been out for about a month now. Captain Action, the classic collection, featuring all 5 DC issues, but a whole lot more back matter as well. And again, due to Ed Cato and the entire Captain Action effort, Joe Ahern, as you mentioned, and certainly Scott Dunbier from IDW and the rest.
Michael Polis, so many guys. Absolutely.
So congratulations. Well done. We'll talk soon. And whenever there's something new, just throw up the bat signal and I'll come running.
Oh, sounds good. Sounds good.
In this case, the action signal. So.
I love it. Well, I'm a listener. I'll see you next time I'm commuting to work, because I feel like you and a guest are always in my car with me. So there
you go, man. That's the hope, that we're in the back seat while you're driving and having a fun conversation. So that's
Absolutely.
terrific.
Like, yeah. Hey, Bendis, do you need coffee? You know, it's almost like you guys are right there.
Absolutely. Here, Steve says a great discussion, and he will, he'll catch up. So that's great, Steve. And I appreciate you watching. Appreciate everybody watching. This will be an audio later this weekend. And as always, everybody, thank you very much. Tonight, I will be venting my Star Trek frustrations with Mitch Halleck, Franco, and we'll have a great time. So make sure you join us later tonight, 8 p.m. Central, or pardon me, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. And that's 5 West Coast time. I always got to do my time conversions. But that's happening tonight, and I hope you'll join us.